Our friend over here. Identify yourself, sir.
Sorry. Home Secretary, Mick Pearson, West Midlands. Can I be the first from this side of the platform to say, nice shoes? But I do have a serious point to make. On Monday afternoon, I was at the Police Women's Eve of Conference meeting. We heard a presentation and a debate about domestic violence and the serial offenders who constantly go from partner to partner, abusing new partners who have no knowledge of their previous partner's abuse. And I got up and I made what was quite a radical suggestion in front of two chief constables who appeared to me to be quite risk-averse. I was in Florida a couple of years ago, as the ladies who were in the room and the gentlemen will have heard, and in the middle pages of a local magazine in a small town in central Florida was a two-page spread with the photographs, names and demographic details of convicted serial sex offenders. Now, if America can do that, why is it we're hidebound behind data protection and human rights and cannot tell our victims and our future victims of serious, pernicious crimes that those offenders are out there? Why is it that we can't do that, Home Secretary?
Okay.
It's a challenge.
Name and shame, are you for it?
Well, I think this is a very difficult area, this whole issue about how you ensure that, and I can see from your face in the start of my reaction, you're thinking, oh, another politician. Yeah, heard this one before. Thank you for your question, really interesting, and so forth.
Change his mind.
Yes. I'm about to try to do so. I've done quite a lot of work on looking at issues around domestic violence. I published a strategy within the Conservative Party about 2 years ago on ending violence against women. And I think there are a number of things that we need to do, and we need to look at it not just as domestic violence, but across the whole spectrum of violence. And I think there are some really interesting... I'm going to take away what you say. I'm not sure that publication in the middle of a magazine is the way, but I think there are issues about how we can address domestic violence and serial offending in domestic violence, which is important. There are some other areas too where we need to do more. On stalking, for example, that's an issue that I fear all too often is not dealt with as well as it could.
Is your fear about publication of vigilante groups and people taking the law into their own hands?
There is a fear of vigilante groups in all of these things, which is why you can't simply embrace those ideas like that. But there are some other things that I have looked to the States for on domestic violence. For example, in New York, the police there have a policy of making random calls back to homes where there have been incidents of domestic violence. And funnily enough, the number of incidents have gone down, and indeed the number of deaths as a result of domestic violence has gone down. So there are some other ideas that have been used elsewhere that I think we can use to address what is a really difficult issue. Just briefly, are you still thinking there's another politician?
I was told by the Chief Constables that it's the politicians who've got to make the decision on this. You spoke about being radical. Yes, my proposal is radical. I will wait with interest at what falls out.
OK, going to go to microphone one and introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, Paul Hudson, Metropolitan. This lot thing I'm going to ask about pensions, but I'm not for once. Home Secretary, what I would like to ask you about is a current issue that's been widely reported, and that's the magistrate who had the temerity to describe two convicted youths as being absolute scum, when all they'd done was desigrate Christian church and daub it with racist and homophobic graffiti. So I rather think he had a point. He was reported by another magistrate, and as a result of that, he's since been demoted. I know Eamon Holmes, if I can use the name, John, on Sky TV suggested that the idiot, as he described him, who reported him should have been demoted. Having spent 30 years experienced the rather strange decisions of courts and coming to the conclusion that particular asylum is being run by the lunatics, I feel that the people of this country deserve magistrates and judges that understand the feelings of the decent people in this country. I wonder if you feel the same and what you're going to do to go about achieving
So,
that.
just to clarify, I'm not quite sure what your point is here. Are you saying that you want magistrates to deliver stiffer sentences, or are you saying you want a better filtration of the people who become magistrates to make sure they are what you regard as representative of the populace as a whole?
Yeah, both really, John. I'm not suggesting I want magistrates to abuse the convicted villains. Nice side issue, I suppose, but I'm not going for that. But I think we deserve, as police officers, and more importantly, the people of this country, deserve magistrates who understand their feelings,
well,
and understand their wants.
It's a pretty wide point, but perhaps you'd like to respond to it.
And it's, I mean, in a sense, it slightly feeds into the sort of democratic accountability point I was trying to make earlier about being able to respond to the needs and wants of people in an area. But if I may just take it also slightly wider, I think there is a real need to be pretty plain when we're dealing with a lot of these issues in relation to when one of the things that has grown up, and we all us politicians talk about antisocial behaviour and that phrase, and it's come to know what it means. But I think when people are committing crimes, we should say they're committing crimes.
What do you think about a magistrate who calls people who'd abused a religious book scum?
Well, I'm going to say that I hesitate to comment on an individual case without looking at all the details of an individual case, and I don't think it would be appropriate for me to do so. What I do think is right is that we do need to ensure that people who are making decisions understand what it is that the public are looking for in their policing and in their criminal justice system.
And do you have that faith in the magisterial system at the moment?
Sorry?
Do you have that faith in the system right now?
Well, I have faith in the magistrate system, yes. I won't say that I mean, obviously, I'm sure that the gentleman Paul might have some further information he wants to give me about his dealings with the magistrate system, maybe. But I do have faith in the magistrate system. I think it is important. It's been an important part of our system through the years, and I think it's been a valuable part of the system. But I'm making if I may, that slightly more general point, that I think that what we do need to do is be absolutely clear about the boundaries between right and wrong.
Thank you very much, Steve, for your contribution. I'm going to go to microphone 5, our friend down there. Yes, sir.
Good morning. Ray Lewis, Vice Chair, National Detectives Forum. Home Secretary, for some years, serious cross-border crime has been woefully neglected and dangerous criminals are escaping justice. The Serious and Organised Crime Agency is a failed experiment. It's more expensive and less effective than the warranted detectives of the National Crime Squad that it replaced. What are you going to do to ensure that serious criminals are brought to justice and public confidence is restored?
Straightforward question, very clear.
I'm sure you'll appreciate that a week into the job, I haven't as yet been able to look in detail at soccer and at how it's been operating and so forth. Obviously, we are going to be looking at a number of at the issue of these national bodies and their operation in due course. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you a more detailed answer than that.
But you take his point.
I'm hearing, part of the reason for being here is to hear what people are saying and what the issues are of concern to people.
OK. Thank you very much, Dee. I don't know that you get very further on that one. Let's go to microphone 3, and good to see a lady. Thank you very much, Dee. Tell us who you are.
Thank you. Tracy Hammond. I'm the Health and Safety Lead for Hampshire Federation. Good afternoon. Do they do them in a 7?
Yes, mine are an 8, but they do them in a 7.
OK, as Health and Safety Lead, you know probably what's coming. In your speech earlier, you acknowledged the risks that we take day in and day out, and you saw the video earlier, and no doubt you will in time see the full list of the bravery awards for our officers for this year. You also said that we run towards danger and that we put ourselves in harm's way. So I'm struggling to understand why you think that you need to unknot health and safety legislation when we're working quite well with health and safety already. We waited long enough to have it as a police service. We waited long enough for it to come in, and now because certain members of the hierarchy of the police service don't like it, then it looks as if you're going to try and pull it away from us.
So is there a danger that you'll be putting their lives at risk or possibly causing them injury by unlocking, unweaving some of this bureaucracy?
No, and Tracy, what I also said in my remarks was that I recognise the need to provide the environment in order to help you keep safe as officers when you're doing the job, notwithstanding, obviously, that you're putting yourself in very often in unsafe situations by definition of the job. So I'm not talking about suddenly doing away all health and safety legislation. I think there is a need for us to look at it, and I think there may be cases where we can, by unknotting some of that regulation, actually free people up in a way that is appropriate. But I recognise the need to maintain a framework that, as you say, which maintains safety.